Remember the winter of 1977? For 8 consecutive nights, something incredible happened. Over half the country, more than 130 million Americans, were glued to their television sets, watching a story unfold. Newspaper headlines screamed a cultural phenomenon. And must-see TV. Families gathered, captivated, as the miniseries Roots brought the saga of Kunta Kinte and his descendants into their living rooms. It wasn't just a show. It was a national event, a shared experience that transcended race and background, forcing a conversation about America's history in a way nothing had before. But this groundbreaking story didn't start in a Hollywood studio. It began decades earlier, in a small town in Tennessee, with a young boy listening at his grandmother's knee. That boy was Alex Haley. Growing up, he was fascinated by the family stories passed down through generations. His grandmother and great-aunts would sit on their porch, recounting tales of their ancestors. They spoke of Chicken George, the master cockfighter, and his parents, Tom and Irene. But the story that truly captured Alex's imagination was the one that went back furthest, to a figure they simply called the African. This ancestor, they said, was kidnapped from his homeland, brought to America on a ship, and never stopped fighting for his freedom. His name, passed down through the generations like a sacred whisper, was Kunta Kinte. This single name became Alex Haley's obsession. It was the first thread in a tapestry he would spend years trying to reweave. After a 20-year career in the US Coast Guard, and then as a journalist, Haley embarked on a quest that would consume more than a decade of his life. His journey was a detective story of epic proportions, a search for a single man across centuries and continents. He spent countless hours in archives and libraries, sifting through dusty ship manifests and plantation records. He was looking for clues, anything that could connect his family's oral history to the written record. The breakthrough came when he found a ship, the Lord Ligonier, which had sailed from the Gambia River to Annapolis, Maryland, in 1767, carrying a cargo of enslaved people. Could this have been Kunta's ship? The quest took him from the archives of London to the shores of West Africa. In the Gambia, Haley experienced the most pivotal moment of his search. He was led to the village of Jufor, where he met a griot, a traditional oral historian whose memory was a living library for his people. As the griot began to recite the history of the Kinte clan, passed down from father to son for centuries, Haley listened, his heart pounding. The griot spoke of a young man named Kunta Kinte, who, while chopping wood in the forest to make a drum for his brother, was captured by slave traders and was never seen again. The oral history of an African village had just perfectly matched the oral history of his American family. In that moment, two halves of a story, separated by 200 years and an ocean, became whole. Haley later described it as the most emotional moment of his life, a profound connection to the ancestor he had sought for so long. Returning to America, Haley knew he had to tell this story. He spent the next several years transforming his decade-long research into a book. It was a grueling process. He locked himself away, surrounding himself with historical documents and the ghosts of his ancestors. He wasn't just writing a book. He was resurrecting a family's journey. He called it Roots, the saga of an American family. Published in 1976, the book was an instant sensation. A Pulitzer Prize-winning masterpiece that traced 7 generations from their African origins, through the brutal Middle Passage, the horrors of slavery in America, and finally, to freedom. It was a deeply personal story, yet it resonated universally. For the first time, millions of African Americans saw their own history, a history of survival and resilience, reflected in a mainstream narrative. It wasn't just a story about the Haley family. It was the story of an American family. The success of the book and the subsequent miniseries was astronomical. It created a seismic shift in American culture. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know where they came from. Genealogy, once a niche hobby, exploded in popularity. People of all backgrounds began digging into their family histories, creating family trees, and seeking connections to their own past. For African Americans in particular, Roots was revolutionary. It provided a powerful counter-narrative to the dehumanizing history of slavery, emphasizing a rich African heritage and an unbroken line of descent. It gave a name and a face to the millions who had been stripped of their identities. However, with massive success came intense scrutiny. Soon after its publication, Roots became embroiled in controversy. Historians pointed out factual inaccuracies and questioned whether Haley had taken literary license, blending fact with fiction to create a more compelling narrative. The most damaging accusation came from author Harold Kurlander, who sued Haley for plagiarism, claiming that parts of Roots were lifted from his novel, The African. Haley eventually settled the case out of court, admitting that some passages had indeed been unintentionally incorporated from Kurlander's work. These controversies cast a shadow over Haley's achievement, with critics arguing that the book he presented as fact was, in many ways, a work of historical fiction. So, how do we view Roots today? Was it a meticulously researched historical document, or a powerful piece of fiction inspired by real events? Perhaps the answer is that it was both. While some of its specific historical claims may be disputed, its cultural impact is undeniable. Roots changed the conversation about race, history, and identity in America and around the world. It inspired a generation to search for their own roots and reclaim their heritage. Alex Haley's quest, born from the stories he heard on his grandmother's porch, became a global phenomenon that empowered millions. Despite the controversies, its legacy endures. It remains a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring human need to know who we are and where we come from. Thank you for watching. If you found this story fascinating, please give us a like and subscribe for more deep dives into cultural history.